Back at it. It's crazy. I hadn't even arrived back in Philly yet when I was getting the game notes from the Eagles PR staff for the next game, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
I got to rewatch the game. I got to get some sleep, but it's a quick turnaround here.
You had a tough travel day, huh?
Just weird getting to and from Kansas City. Had layovers in Charlotte on the way there, Dallas on the way back. Not a lot of direct flights from Philly to KC.
Yeah, there's always, Greyhound. Maybe there's a Bolt bus that goes out there. Amtrak, probably take about 20 days.
Yeah, I'd prefer to fly, but
probably the best option.
Yeah, it worked out. I got some sleep last night. I'm feeling good.
Good.
It's funny. Like the day after you get like 3 hours of sleep, you're like, you need it, man. Your body's starting to hurt a little bit, but I'm feeling good. Ready to get this week going.
Yeah, it's a quick week. It's a short week. I think the Eagles got back around 5 a.m. On Tuesday morning, and right back at it. And they'll have an early practice, Thanksgiving morning type practice Thursday.
It's got to work up an appetite,
and then get them home, get them out of there. They, spend some time with their family. Nick's pretty good about that. Let them, get the work in, but also shorten the day a little so they can spend time with their family.
Yeah, that's a good thing to do. We hope everyone enjoys time with their families on Thanksgiving. We appreciate you guys taking some time for us, though. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast presented by Nissan. Reuben, Frank, Dave, Zangaro. We do have a lot to get to today. Now, we'll have a little bit of Thanksgiving fun. We'll talk about some...
Dave, you're doing it again. All right.
I never heard the song the last time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we had a little weird technical thing where the song Somebody's Baby by Jackson Browne started playing in the middle of our podcast. Nobody figured out why.
Yeah, that was really weird.
Yeah.
It was suggested to me that maybe my my wire on my mic was curled and that it was getting interfered. I don't know how things work.
Yeah.
So it was all news to me.
Well, this was just me playing the video.
Yeah, I didn't realize. That's good. That was good. Yeah, I didn't realize that was you.
That was me.
Okay, good. Where was I?
I guess we were starting the podcast. We were going to talk about the secondary.
We were starting the podcast. I did want to mention we're going to have some Thanksgiving fun. That's what I was saying. We'll kind of talk about some things Eagles fans should be thankful for later in the pod. We'll give you a little Bills preview. They come to town on Sunday at 4:25. The number one CBS crew doing that game: Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson.
Jim Nantz, who called Jim Johnson Jimmy Johnson the other night. He was talking about Sean McDermott, and he's like, another great defensive coach off the Jimmy Johnson tree. No, different guy.
Different guy.
Yeah.
Jim Nantz pretty good though. I like.
He is
Jim
good.
Nantz. Yeah.
He is good, but everybody knows you don't call Jim Johnson Jimmy Johnson.
I get that. My favorite thing though, when you get a top crew, you get everything top from the broadcast crew. So you get more cameras. You get better replays. All that stuff is helpful, especially when you're rewatching or if you're watching the game live. Definitely helps. But let's start with the secondary. You mentioned it. It's Kelly Green week, too, for all those who celebrate. It's the last one of the year. So
is that right?
I'd imagine there'll be a lot of people in Kelly Green for this game. You mentioned the secondary, and I think that's where we got to start today because they played really well. Kevin Byard finally made some plays, looked good.
He looked like a different guy.
From the first quarter on, he looked like a different guy. Yeah, it was like a change in that game. Bradley Roby played a bunch. He played well, even though they were still rotating.
He played about a little over half the snaps. A little bit.
He played 44 of 63. So he played a lot. And I think that's probably going to either stay the same or increase as we go on.
I would think it'll increase.
I would think so. If it goes one way, it's going to go that way. It's nice. It's nice to see them settle down in the secondary a little bit because I think that was probably the reason for a lot of angst with Eagles fans during that bye week.
Yeah, and I think having a settled group of five guys, and they'll still rotate other guys, and you saw Sidney in there. They played quite a few snaps.
They ran some 3 safety packages.
Yeah, Rick still played a little bit, but I think as they play together, as they grow together, I think it's going to help everyone. It's going to help Slay. It's going to help Bradbury, help Blankenship. Just, where the guy's going to be. When you play 17 different defensive backs in 9 games, you're back there, you're looking.
Was it 17?
It was 17. It is 17 now, yeah. Includes like Keely Ringo played one defensive snap, but he did.
Do you include Zach McPherson in that?
No.
Okay.
These are guys that played in a regular season game, and it's already the third most D-backs that have played in a regular season game for the Eagles with a lot of games to go. So I just think having that stability and that cohesion is going to help the whole group. It's not just going to help those positions where Reuben and Byard came in and played. So I think they'll all look better. They'll all look more organized, more prepared. I mean, because it was pretty bad there for a while, and it's understandable. There's a lot of young guys.
Kai Gardner out there, guy's a undrafted rookie who's playing out of position. Like, that's how bad it got
from the practice squad. Yeah. So it was bad, and I think you're gonna, as they play more together, you would think that it's just gonna keep getting better.
Yeah.
I mean, to play Mahomes, and I know the weather wasn't great, the conditions weren't great. I'm sure that's part of it, but he averaged 4.1 yards per pass attempt, the lowest of his career by far. I think the previous lowest was like 4.5. Threw 43 times for 178 yards?
177.
You can't just let me have that yard.
Well, you asked me.
No, I did. You're right. But yeah, so obviously they thought there was something there that they could take advantage of, and I don't blame them. I mean, he missed some guys. They dropped some passes. I get that. But for the most part, when you can shut out the Chiefs in the second half and get out of there giving up 17 points to that offense, and I understand it's not the Chiefs of old. They don't have great wide receivers, but they shut Travis Kelce down for the most part. He shut himself down.
But they did a good job on him.
Yeah, they did a good job on him. And they really, it was a very consistent performance. Some things didn't go right early, and they cleaned that up. Considering where they were a couple weeks ago, where they were against Dallas in some of those games, Washington, it was kind of scary, the matchup. Mahomes and that secondary, and they came up huge.
They did. I thought it was a good game plan, too. You mentioned Kelce. That's the right game plan.
Yeah.
Try to take him away, and if MVS beats you, and like those guys weren't able to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I there was a lot of people on Twitter. There were some Chiefs fans who were like, well, they dropped some passes. It's like, if he catches that ball, it's a touchdown. It's a whole different game. Well, he didn't. He's not as good. Like, he's not as good as Devontae.
Yeah. I mean, so Brett Veach had decisions to make in the offseason, and they went with this ragtag bunch of receivers, and it bit them.
Yeah. And Brett Veach is a great GM, and started here, obviously, under Howie. I think everyone knows that. But, yeah, I mean, it's not luck when the receivers that you've decided to keep don't make plays. So Devontae made a huge play that was integral in them winning the game, 41 yards. He caught that ball. Valdez-Scantling didn't catch his. So, and they, they had a bunch of drops. Nothing against the Penn program, but maybe you get a guy from the SEC instead of a guy from the Ivy. And he's a nice player, but again, good for him. But there's not a lot of luck in the NFL. And
there is, but you can control some of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Quez. It's like, were the Eagles unlucky he dropped that pass in the Super Bowl? I mean, no, because that's what Quez does. Unfortunately, he's had a pattern of that.
Poor Quez just sitting at home enjoying the podcast, ready to listen about the improved secondary. It's like, hey,
yeah, but it's true. And but yeah, I was impressed with what they did on Kelce. I thought they were really physical with him, and they were physical in general, which was really good to see. And I'm not sure the Chiefs' offense is the most. I don't think they like playing that game. They want to play finesse, wide open, running, and they took it to them.
They did. I was impressed by the secondary. It's kind of crazy. They've shut down the Dolphins and the Chiefs this year.
Yeah. Yeah, and they shut down the Cowboys in the second half.
Sure, yeah. Second half defense, I know that it's kind of a myth, like second half adjustments, but like it's a good way to gauge how you adjust. Like, I don't think it's not like everyone gathers around and they come up with this like new game plan in the second half, but it shows you the differences, and it shows you that a team has adjusted And I've been impressed by how Desai and the defense have been able to adjust this year.
Yeah, I don't think it's a myth. I think the myth is that that's the only time you can adjust. I mean,
sure.
You're making adjustments throughout the game.
Yeah, but it's not like this.
Yeah, a little more time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a ton of time.
Not a ton.
Yeah. Not honestly, sometimes not a lot more time than when the Eagles go on a long drive.
Yeah, that's true. But it gives you a chance to kind of calm guys down. And sometimes that's all you need. But I've been really impressed with Desai.
Me too. I think he's having a really good year.
I do too. And not even just, I mean, really all year. I mean, to keep things together with all those injuries and changes in the secondary, like you said, I mean, he had guys come in who had never played those positions. And it wasn't always pretty, but they won those games. And they certainly didn't lose the Jets because of the secondary. So yeah, he's been great. And I'm starting to think he might be a head coaching candidate at some point. Not a lot of defensive coaches get those jobs, but
I think we saw one get one last year.
Yeah, we did.
Probably not helping the cause.
Hey, they play they play everybody close.
They do. They've been playing tough. Tougher than I expected. I thought they would lay down this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I did too. But anyway, very impressive.
He's doing a good job. I think Byard, to me, is the most encouraging thing coming out of that game.
Can't disagree with that.
You kind of grade on a curve because he arrives kind of in the middle of the season, not a lot of time for the first game. So you give like a complete pass for that first game, even though he wasn't willing to give himself a pass.
Right.
I was like, I'll give you a pass on that one. Well, the second game came around, and you're like, uh-oh, this isn't good. Then the beginning of the third game after the bye week, you're starting to go, wait a second here. This is a little concerning. You brought this guy in to help shore up this entire secondary, and it doesn't look like he can do it. So from that point on, though,
after that touchdown, like, I wonder how Justin Evans is feeling.
I don't think that's crazy.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah,
I wonder if he's coming back.
But to see Byard have a strong finish to that game, and it was more than just a pick. He had a big play on a pass breakup. He got another one where he tipped the ball.
Yeah,
he had the interception. Obviously, it
was a nice interception.
It was.
Yeah, very, very athletic.
So that to me is very encouraging moving forward because they need him. They don't need him to be an all-pro player, but they need him to be really good down the stretch. That's what they brought him in for, and I thought it was a good move to bring him in. But man, I'll tell you, I was starting to wonder a little bit.
I think we all were.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't look comfortable. He was out of position. He looked slow. I think you made the point that when you don't really know the defense, you're going to look slow. Mm-hmm. You're just going to look tentative. And I think having that 2 weeks to really dive, and he said before, I think it was before the bye, he said, I really need this time to dive in and just really learn this defense. And Roby said the same thing, and they both did.
Yeah, very good to see. And Justin Evans, it does look like he's going to come back at some point, which will help for depth purposes.
Sure.
Because we saw them run some 3 safety, and as much as we all kind of like Sydney's game, I think they're probably going to trust Justin Evans more.
I would think so. Yeah. Justin Evans, before he got hurt,
he was fine.
He wasn't awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was playing all right.
You just wonder if he's going to be a guy that's just always going to get hurt.
I don't think you wonder that. I think you know that, unfortunately, based on his career. But in a limited role and not asking him to be a starter, and you're saying, all right, you play a few snaps on defense, you play special teams, I'm fine with the Justin Evans.
Yeah.
I haven't really understood their infatuation with Justin Evans. It goes back years, but I get it a little bit. I think he can help them.
Yeah. Roster move coming up.
Yeah, they're going to have to get him on the roster.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah.
See what they do there.
All right. Jalen Hurts, after this game, is now the favorite to win the MVP award, which is a little silly.
Yeah.
But that's the way this award works, and it's a big deal.
Yeah. Do you know who the last Eagle to win MVP was? So Randall won the Pro Football Writers Association one. But the real one, the AP.
Have they ever had a?
Yeah. Yeah, I just looked this up before we started. Norm Van Brocklin in 1960.
Oh, okay.
Won it. So it's been.
So no one in the Super Bowl era.
Nobody in the Super Bowl era has won it.
You say era or era?
I just said era just to be different.
Okay. You don't actually say era, though.
Like, they didn't have it when like Van Buren was playing. He probably would have won it. Possibly could have won it, but yeah, it's been 63 years since an Eagle won the real one, which is the AP one. And it's kind of ironic that Jalen's worst game statistically, I don't think it was his worst game, but his worst game statistically is the one that, but I think it's just symbolic. He beat the Chiefs and he did make some plays. It wasn't all his. I think the interception again probably wasn't his fault, like most of his interceptions this year. But I mean, the one touchdown, the 10-yarder was a big time play.
It was, and he looked healthy, which is encouraging. Like, really going forward.
Yeah, he really did. And
he got a little lucky on the one where he fumbled and he just like picked it up.
But I'll tell you what, it was nice to see an Eagles fumble that they recovered, because it seems like they never recover their own fumbles. So that was, you worry about it.
See, like when you mentioned luck in the NFL, that's what I was thinking. Like, there's turnover luck for sure. Like, things kind of regress to the mean at some point, one way or the other.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I think what you saw from him was tremendous leadership, tremendous calmness in the face of, you're down 10 in that stadium. You saw how loud that place is on Monday night. National TV game. Nothing's going right. The offense was in chaos. He was under siege from their defensive front. They couldn't block Chris Jones. I mean, it was chaos on offense. So to see him just kind of, with his calmness, settle things down and start making plays, it doesn't have to be pretty, and the stats don't matter. I know I'm saying that's kind of ironic, but I just think when you have a guy, I think it's really hard to be in control and stay in control and keep the people around you in control when things are going that bad. And he did that. And those 2 touchdown drives in the second half were, a lot of Swift on him. He didn't make a lot of throws, but he did what he had to do. And he finished both with touchdowns, right? Swift was the first drive in the first half.
Then he got a touch push, brotherly shove after the Devontae 41-yarder.
Right. So, look, if I had to vote for MVP, who would you vote for? If the season ended today, who would you vote for? The people aren't going to like my pick.
I don't know. I probably would vote for Jalen, but that's kind of just because I know what the award is now. I think this would be a fine year to have a non-quarterback win it.
Yeah.
But I don't think one guy, like Tyreek Hill's having a great year, but it's tough for a receiver to win it when his quarterback is probably ahead of him in voting.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's another player. Would you go who? Oh, so would you go Lamar?
I think Brock. So they have the Offensive Player of the Year award too, and nobody really knows exactly. I think Brock Purdy would make sense. I mean, he's having an insane year.
Really?
Yeah. What's 70% completion, 18 touchdowns, passer rating of 115. He'd be in the mix. Lamar Jackson would be certainly in the mix. I think those two, and Jalen and Mahomes, would be the candidates. If I had to pick right now, I might go Purdy.
Wow. Okay.
But Eagles are 9-1, and the 49ers are 7-3.
Do you know the odds right now?
I don't.
I'm looking at PointsBet. Do you think you could guess or figure out the top 5?
Well, I assume Mahomes is still second.
Yeah, so it's Hurts, and then Mahomes is tied with someone. So Hurts is plus 200, Mahomes is plus 400. There's another guy who's plus 400.
Somebody we haven't mentioned yet?
I mentioned him.
Oh, Tua?
No. He is next at plus 600.
All right, so
AFC.
Tyreek?
No, Tyreek's
It's a quarterback.
It's a quarterback, yeah. The top 10 are quarterbacks.
It's not Lamar?
It is Lamar.
Oh, it is Lamar.
Yeah,
okay.
Lamar.
So it's Jalen,
and then Mahomes and Lamar both at plus 400. And
then Tua?
Tua's at plus 600. And then there's a drop-off to Brock Purdy at plus 1,500. Then Dak at plus 1,600. C.J. Stroud, 1,800. Jared Goff, 32. Josh Allen, 4. It goes down the list.
Stroud's an interesting name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if Jalen plays out the slate, he wins MVP.
I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine a player meaning more to a team or a franchise than he does. So that's fair. I'd probably end up. I mean, I have a vote. I think I have a vote again. I assume
they didn't take it from you.
Yeah.
How many people vote? Do you know?
I think is it one per city or one per team? Maybe 32.
Is it? I know there's. I thought there's 58 like all pro votes.
Maybe I don't.
I think you're right. I think it's maybe one in each city, but then I think there's some like at large.
Yeah,
voters.
there probably are. I don't know. I have it in my email somewhere, but
yeah, like like I'm sure like Peter King has a vote, like those types of like national reporters.
Reuben, where are you right now?
It's good, Peter.
Yeah. Look, a lot's going to change over the next few weeks, but look, if the Eagles go 15-2, it's going to be hard not to vote for Jalen.
Yeah, I mean, if they go 15-2, it's and he plays every game.
Yeah, if they're 14-2, he probably won't play that last. Well, he might need.
Well,
to.
I mean, like every game that matters.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
As long as he doesn't have an injury.
Yeah.
Like he did last year.
Yeah.
He probably wins it last year if he's able to play through that.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, not only did he miss games, it affected him, his performance. I think it was big, and I don't think we've talked about this at all, but just, I mean, he was hurt pretty bad. We never got a full disclosure of just how bad that knee was, but I thought it was really...
They couldn't hide it. I mean, you watched him play.
Yeah, I think it was big for him to... Didn't miss a snap, didn't miss a practice, didn't miss a rep. Obviously, didn't miss a game, didn't miss a play. I thought that was really big. I thought
he would have preferred for no one to know about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure.
He did wear the sleeve in the game.
Yeah, we could see. I wonder if that had to do with a little more support on the field, on the wet field.
Maybe.
But you could see it pregame.
Can't hurt to have some extra support for the knee.
Yeah. He's a unique guy.
It's amazing how much the team has kind of taken on.
Yeah.
Not his personality, but
kind of his personality.
The unflinching part of his personality, because everyone else is having more fun than him.
Right.
Honestly.
Right.
He shows motion sometimes. It was cool to see him run up and down the sideline and kind of shake hands and slap hands with some Eagles fans there.
Yeah, that was cool.
I mean, everyone else is celebrating and having a ton of fun. It's really funny now. Like, he'll throw a touchdown pass and everyone's celebrating. He'll just like do that little jog off the field.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a different cat.
But in terms of, being down 10-0, I think that's really where his influence and the veteran leadership on this team, I think that's where it shows up the most.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I guess, I don't know if that's his personality, it's a reflection of his personality. I think it kind of is. Even though they don't act the same way as him, his personality is rubbing off on them.
Yeah, he's a calming presence.
Yeah, he is.
For sure. And it's like Nick Serianni always tells the flight attendant anecdote, which I don't know if Nick does it as well all the time, but, if there's a moment where you think you might want to panic and you look, if you're on a flight, right? And there's a moment where you think you might want to panic, you look at the flight attendant and you see if they're not panicking, then it calms you down. Now, if the flight attendant's panicking, you're going to start to panic a little bit.
Have you ever been on a flight where you've needed to do that?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm a pretty calm flyer, though.
Yeah.
Not much gets to me.
Yeah, back when I was traveling with the Eagles, Dave and I, we were on the same flights most of the time. Mm-hmm. And we'd be undergoing crazy turbulence. We're like coming in and out of the clouds and we're like sideways. And like I look over and there's Dave just sleeping. And I'm like, I'm trying to write stats on my laptop.
I generally don't work on flights.
Yeah, I always did.
I find it very uncomfortable.
It is.
Like I have to type like a T-Rex.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah. And then, just when you're getting comfortable, the guy slams his seat down.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to read or listen to the music or take a nap.
Yeah, but I think when you look at how much work I have.
Oh, yeah.
I always found that it makes the flight go faster if you're online and doing something. And
you know what makes it go faster?
Sleeping.
If you wake up and you're at your destination.
I've never been able to sleep on planes.
What would you do if you had to go on a long, long flight?
Well,
I've been on I think I was on like an 18-hour flight once.
I was on an 18-hour flight, but it was scheduled for 5 hours. I think I've told the Oakland story. Mm-hmm. But, I always have Sudokus with me, a little Sudoku book, crossword puzzle book, because you need something on the climb out before you can get your laptop out and on your descent. So I always have those. I usually have a book. I don't know if I can handle an 18-hour flight. Like, I'd love to go to Australia one day. Mm-hmm. But then again, if you're on an international flight, you're gonna have a little more room.
Not a ton.
Well,
it depends.
If I did something like that, I'd probably upgrade. I'd probably go first or biz.
The longest flight I was on was JFK to Johannesburg, and they give you it's free beer and wine on the flights. Me and my buddies were like, all right, let's take advantage of this. Throw some back, and then we'll be able to sleep. Yeah, which was like a great idea in theory. The problem is when you wake up after sleeping a little hungover,
and you're still on an airplane.
You still have 10 hours left. That's a brutal wake up.
Yeah. What's the best flight you've ever had?
What do you mean by that?
As far as your seat, amenities, the airline.
I've been on some good airlines on international flights. There's an Asian airline called, I don't know how to type, it's Cathay.
Yeah, sure. Cathay Pacific.
Cathay Pacific. Yeah. Really nice airline. Good food on the flights. So that was a good experience.
Where'd you go on that one?
That one I flew from Toronto to Hong Kong, I think. 15-hour flight. So it's nice to have a good airline for a 15-hour flight.
Yeah. When we had that 2018 game against the Jaguars in England, I went over to the airport to Heathrow to check in, and the guy's, "Oh, Mr. Frank, you can get on the plane now." And I was like, "Really? You're not boarding yet?" He's like, "Oh," he looks at my boarding pass and he's like, "Oh, you're in business class."
Really?
And and somehow I got an upgrade. I don't even know how, but it was Virgin Atlantic, and I had a row to myself in first class.
Ooh.
And there's only 6 people and 20 seats in first class. And, it's not the longest flight. I mean, London back to, it was Newark. It's probably same as Seattle to Philly. And, but the food it was the best meal I had on the whole trip. And, you have a computer screen in front of you, and you can follow the plane, over the over the ocean and everything. The food was great. The seats were huge. I had a empty seat next to me, and it was quiet. And that was the nicest flight I've ever been on. Oh, U.S. Air back in the old days when there was U.S. Air, when you were upgraded, you would get a shaving kit.
Really?
A little
they were just handing out razors.
Yeah, there was a toiletry case. Yeah, there was razors. Everything was in there. I mean, back then.
Yeah.
And then you would get slippers. They gave you little fuzzy slippers. You take your shoes off, put your slippers on.
Remember Midwest Airlines?
Yeah.
Midwest was a really nice airline. I used to fly because my sister lives in the Midwest. She lives out in the suburbs of Chicago. So, but there was a while where me and my family stopped flying to Chicago. We would fly Milwaukee on Midwest, and they used to bake cookies.
Yeah.
On the flight, and then the whole plane would smell like fresh baked cookies.
Yeah. Yeah, I flew Midwest from Philly to Milwaukee and then a Midwest commuter plane to Green Bay or Appleton, probably Appleton. Yeah, I think the Appleton to Milwaukee flight was the entire plane. It was like a commuter plane. It was like an Embraer 170 or whatever they are. It was all first class seating. The whole plane was first class. Wow. And they didn't last, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, so Jalen's now the favorite to win MVP. We'll take a break, and we have some things Eagles fans should be thankful for on the other side.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store at nissanusa.com today.
Celebrity cook Steve Martorano brings his Italian-American cooking back home to Philly. Enjoy Martorano's Prime at Rivers Casino and Steve's famous meatballs with Sunday gravy, prime steaks, and more. Make reservations at Morderano's Prime on Open Table. Thanksgiving, Rube. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone who's listening.
You too.
Real quick before we get into actual football stuff, favorite Thanksgiving side?
Anything but cranberry sauce.
Oh, not a cranberry sauce at all.
Not a cranberry sauce guy.
Okay.
But, I mean, I think you asked me this last year.
I think I ask it every year.
Probably.
It's a very generic, stupid question that everyone does this time of year.
Yeah, I mean, I love stuffing with some gravy on it. Yeah.
Okay.
I like mixing everything up.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I like a good leftover Thanksgiving meal too.
Yeah. Microwave the whole plate.
Yeah, there you go. Or make a sandwich like a homemade gobbler.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. All right.
Homemade gobbler.
Let's talk about some things Eagles fans should be thankful for. I figure we can just ping pong this back and forth a little bit. We didn't do a whole ton of prep on this, but
or none.
Or none. I thought about it a little bit. I'll start off if that's cool with you. I'm going to say ownership. Yeah. We'll start at the very top. Eagles have a good owner, and it really all starts with that. And we see in the division what it means when you don't have a good owner. Down there in Washington, it's been like a nightmare for a really long time, and things will start to get better now that they have new ownership.
Maybe.
Can't get worse.
Can't get worse.
I mean, the fact that they won't have to worry about, like, what in the world is this guy doing? But, like, just to have a guy in Jeff Lurie who cares. You got to have a guy who cares, who's willing to put resources into the team. And I mean, I don't even need to mention all the community stuff. Just like from a pure football perspective, he's a really good owner, and that's not the case everywhere.
No, it's not. I was thinking about this the other day. His last 4 coaches that he's hired, 3 of them have taken the team to a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm.
And there's some luck involved in that. They haven't always gotten their top choice, but he seems to nail it. Yeah,
I think he's got a really good knack for that. I'll go with the holy trinity of Fletcher, Kelsey, and BG.
Well, why don't you make it a quartet and add Lane in there?
No, I'm going to go with those 3 guys just because they're the guys that were here under Andy.
Okay.
I look at those 3, and look, obviously thankful to have Lane. He's a great player, but I look at those 3. They're going to, over the next few weeks, they will become the top 3 in games played in Eagles history. And just how rare that is to keep guys like that, just to keep one guy. I mean, there's only I think I looked this up, there's only 11 guys in the entire league who've been with the same team and their only team for over 10 years. And they have 3 of them. They're the only team that's ever had that. I actually looked this up. So, and this is probably the last, we'll see of maybe all of them, which will make training camp next year, BG and Kelsey will probably be there every day. Kelsey will be there with whatever network he's working for. BG will be there because he just will be. But yeah, I think those 3, they're all all-timers. Hopefully they all go into the Eagles Hall of Fame at the same time. That'd be really cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah, although they only put 2 people in, but they should all go in at the same time.
Make an exception. And it's been cool. I did that story last year about the coin toss.
Yeah.
Because it's been, for the last year and a half now, it's been those 3 going out for the coin toss. And it's just a cool little moment they get to share together.
Yeah.
My turn.
Yeah.
Howie. And this is kind of an extension of Jeff Lurie because Howie's able to have the job security that allows him to be so aggressive. But, man, for a guy that everyone wanted fired not that long ago, to see he's put together 2 Super Bowl teams.
He has completely different teams.
Yeah.
Almost. Not completely, but no, I was looking at this
different coach and quarterback makes it different teams.
Yeah. And this team, he rebuilt the defense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they lost half their defense from last year. 5 starters, 6 starters. I was looking at this, his first year, he didn't become GM till 2011, but he was
2010.
2010, yeah. He was here in 2001 or 2000, and 80% of the Eagles' playoff wins have come since he was hired. Now, obviously, there's more rounds than there were in the earlier years, but he's one of the most important people in franchise history. And we were just talking about this before the pod with some of the guys who work here. Like that year he was in exile in 2015 when Chip was a GM. Might have been the best thing that ever happened to him.
Yeah, one day there's going to be a memoir, My Year Away, the Howie Roseman story.
My Year in Exile. I told him that should be the name of it. He really used that year to, I think he was really humiliated. He was humbled. Certainly the press release humiliated him. But he took it to heart. He took that time to learn how to listen, be a better listener, be a better collaborator. He talked to GMs and assistant GMs from other sports and other teams and other cities. And he came back in those first few days. He reshaped the roster, traded Byron Maxwell somehow and all those guys.
He undid a lot.
He undid a lot of damage, and they won the Super Bowl.
And then he was super aggressive going after Carson Wentz, which was obviously a good move at the time.
Yeah. And they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and it was indicative of his approach.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's certainly a good one, and he's a complicated guy, but it's cool to see when he comes out on the field now, people just cheering his name, and like, who would have thought?
Yeah, I mean, there were plenty of years where it was fire this dude.
Yeah,
and even when Jeff put him back into power, they came with a pretty big qualifier that like, hey, no, you need to get a top personnel guy in here, which ended up being Joe Douglas, who took a while to hire him, and how we did all the 16 moves without Joe. But that was part of it.
He had to prove himself all over again. He sure has.
Yeah, and
he was a bad GM he wasn't a good GM there for a while. So I mean, a lot of the criticism, a lot of it was personal, was unfair, but a lot of it was right on. Yeah,
and he's always had to work harder because people don't think of him as a football guy, and it comes with kind of a stigma that he's had to fight against.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm going to go with the Link.
Okay.
I think. Look, I covered enough games at the Vet. You went to the. Did you go to the Vet? How old were you when?
Yeah. I'm not young. You think I am? I went there as a 21. Fan. Yeah.
No, that's what I meant. I don't know how many Eagles games you went to back then, but
Eagles and Phillies games, yeah.
It was it was one of the 2 or 3 worst stadiums. I mean, the Astrodome. I know you probably have a kinship since you're a Houston guy. Like the worst stadiums. I mean, I wouldn't even put RFK in that group because they took care of it. I think it's still down there. I think RFK is still there, but the Vet and the Astrodome are probably the worst stadiums I've ever been in. So to go to this place. And I think the Link is one of my 3 or 4 favorite stadiums. Seattle, is great. I don't know. What are your 3 favorite stadiums?
I really like Seattle. I like Minnesota.
Yeah. Minnesota's. I ranked all the stadiums. I think I've covered a game in 57 stadiums, but the Link is up there. It's easy to get to. They've maintained it really well. It's comfortable. The sight lines are great. I love the little open area where you can see the skyline downtown Philadelphia.
It's a nice touch.
It's right. I still think they should build a ramp, and I point to right where the ramp should be, coming off 95, right into the parking lot.
That'd be a little backed up on game day.
Well, be easier than getting off at Broad, where they just every week there's a different traffic pattern. All right, this week we're going to send you into the Navy Yard. This week we're going to send you on Broad Street, but you can't make a right. Well, this week you have to go to Patterson and then go around the state. Like, they need to do something about, but that's not the Link's fault.
Thankful.
Yeah, I know.
It's Thanksgiving.
That's not the stadium's fault. I think it's a beautiful stadium, and the music sucks. But other than that, I think fans should be thankful they have because we've seen some of the stadiums. I mean, Eagles fans should be thankful that not only.
My yearly trip to FedEx reminds me to be thankful.
Yeah, and a lot of Eagles fans have been there. They know what a dump that is. They build it the right way. They've maintained it the right way. It's a great place to watch a game.
Yeah. My turn.
Yeah.
Wide receivers.
You sound so excited when you say my turn.
Yeah, you get excited. Wide receivers. And it's a good time to bring that up because watching an Andy Reid offense throw to nobodies who dropped the football was quite a reminder of what this fan base had to go through for a long time. And to have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, it's just nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one of the misnomers is that Andy didn't care about receivers. He tried. I mean, he drafted Freddie Mitchell in the first round. He drafted Pinkston in the second round.
Yeah. Reggie Brown was
a second round pick. It was pretty good for a little bit. Freddie wasn't pretty good at all. But
oh man, he's gonna find you and tell you.
No, I like
that.
Freddie, but like I think you could have had, you could have had Reggie Wayne. You could have had Steve Smith, the good Steve Smith. Gosh, Chad Johnson. I mean, there's that draft. So he tried. So it's not like he was like Thrash was a former undrafted guy. But he tried to get guys. He just couldn't do it. And, that obviously was all before Howie. Then then Deshaun and Macklin, he had them at the end. But
then like even recently we went through there were some bleak years we love Greg Ward, but Greg Ward and Bryce Treggs and Dorial Green Beckham.
Bryce Treggs is going to be pissed at you.
Bryce Treggs is an agent now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Nice guy.
Just the whole Travis Fulgham thing. I mean, for a month, like we thought we found one. That didn't really go well after that. He's out of the league, isn't he?
I believe so.
Yeah. So, that's a good one. They're probably the best 1-2 we've ever had here.
Yeah.
In this city. I mean, there were some years where I think at the beginning of Quick's career, he and Harold were teammates at Carmichael. Harold Jackson and Carmichael maybe for a couple of years. But as far as they're both young guys, they're going to be together. That's a good one. Are we going to continue this?
Well, you have one more.
I have one more.
To even it out.
I knew you were going to say that. Because, God forbid, you have one more than me. Like, that would be the end of the world to Dave. Like, everything has to balance out and equal out.
I hate that that's so true.
It's so true. Oh, no. I have one more than you. I can't go to sleep tonight. I'll say Nick. Who would have thought? I mean, to put what Nick has done in perspective, the top 3 winningest coaches in NFL history who've coached more than 2 years as far as winning percentage are Guy Chamberlain, who won 4 NFC championships in the 20s, including one right here with the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets.
And he scored 100 points in a game.
Guy Chamberlain did, in Hershey. And then Vince Lombardi and John Madden. Those are the top 3, and Nick's 4th. I mean, was he 31-12 now?
It's unbelievable.
32-12. And he was 2-5.
Yeah.
So you do the math there, and it's 30-7. You subtract that Dallas game at the end of 21, which he wasn't trying to win, and he's 30-6 in his last 36 meaningful games. That doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen. And they're going to win, I mean, at worst, they're going to win 12 games, probably 13 or 14. To do that back-to-back years, possibly go to a Super Bowl back-to-back years in your first 3 years, I can imagine fans in other cities hate this guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
this city would hate this guy if he wasn't here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But since he's a Philly guy, and look, I think he genuinely really embraces the city, loves the city. I think he gets a kick out of it. I think the city and him are on the same wavelength. He loves trash talking. He loves, he loves all that stuff. And so Eagles fans are naturally going to be drawn to him. It took a little while. Since the flowers growing underground, he's 30-6. And what's Jalen since then?
Yeah, because you take away the 2 losses last year, and they were 1-1 without him the year before.
So you say 1-3 out of 30-6, and he's 29-3 in his last 32 starts. We should probably mention that Eagles fans should be thankful for him as well.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Even though he's not a quarterback, he'll never be accurate enough. He's just an athlete playing quarterback. Sometimes I like to just find old tweets like that and just retweet them, just for the hell of it. I have like a little compendium of Jalen tweets from 20.
That's a new word for me.
Compendium?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What's it just means like a collection?
Yeah, I don't know. Let me find you a brief summary of a larger work or a field of knowledge, an abstract, a list of a number of items, a collection or a compilation.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Yeah.
I'll steal that.
It's a noun. The example they use is a compendium of folk tales.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Bills this week. Not a lot of time to get ready for this game. Yeah. You got to come back after it's like an emotional win and a Super Bowl rematch. You have Thanksgiving this week, so there are some distractions and a tough game against a Bills team that, their record isn't very good, but they're very talented.
Very talented. Their secondary is terrific. Their quarterback is up and down, but if you get good Josh Allen, watch out. It's an interesting week, and there'll be a I think it'll be a shorter practice today, Thursday. They had a walkthrough on Wednesday. I think Nick's really good about getting these guys off their feet after, a physical Monday night game. They'll do a lot more classroom stuff, but it'll be interesting to see how physically ready they are for a very physical Buffalo team. And Sean McDermott, obviously their head coach, was here from 99 until 09. Had 2 years as DC. Great guy. Full disclosure, I consider him a friend.
But that only goes one way. So
no, he doesn't consider. But it's an interesting position because they've had a lot of regular season success. They won 3 straight divisions up there, but they haven't made that deep playoff run.
Yeah, they're 6-5.
They're 6-5 this year. So he's got
win over the Jets in Week 11, but losses to the Bengals and Broncos before that. They've lost to the Patriots, the Jaguars, and they lost to the Jets in the opener.
And Doug Peterson and Sean were on Andy's staff together. I mean, they're going to have to really scramble to get into the playoffs. We'll see what happens with some of those other bubble teams like, I guess, Houston and Pittsburgh and Cleveland.
And Buffalo's next 3 games.
Yeah, their schedule's tough.
At Philly, at Kansas City, home against Dallas.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It is, but they are, like you said, they are very talented. They can win any game. And their defense they got ball hawks in their secondary. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, former Eagles 7th-round pick.
Mm-hmm. They have Rasul now.
They have Rasul Douglas, who just had 2 interceptions in that Jets game and a forced fumble.
Yeah. He's always been around the ball, even when he wasn't playing a ton. He finds the way to be around a football.
Remember that game where he came in? Somebody got hurt for 1 snap and came out. He came in and had an interception, like on the 5-yard line.
I do remember.
It was the only snap he played in the game.
Yeah.
Only played 3 years here as a 3rd-round pick. He was kind of a failed 3rd-round pick. Did not play well that 3rd year in 19. Got a Super Bowl ring.
Played a lot as a rookie, too.
Played a lot. I think he had 5 picks his first 2 years.
Because Darby was hurt.
Yeah.
For a lot of that year.
Yeah, that was the year they drafted Sidney Jones in the 2nd round and Rasul in the 3rd.
Yeah, Rasul was 99th overall.
Yeah. Devontae should have been 99th overall. Rasul from North Jersey. Interesting guy. I mean, he grew up in incredible poverty. I remember him telling me when he was at Nassau Junior College in Long Island, he would get McDonald's for lunch and then save half of it for dinner. I probably told you that story like yesterday.
I'm thinking about how many times that story has been told on the podcast.
I like that story.
I know
it tells you a lot about him.
It's a good story.
And gosh, after he spent that 1 year in Carolina, I guess the year after here.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
and played well.
2020. And then he was out of the league. He bounced around. He was with the Raiders for like a week. He was with someone else, and then he signed with the Cards practice squad. They couldn't get a job. And he was with 3 teams in about a month. And then the Packers poached him off the Packers had all kinds of injury problems. They poached him off the Cards practice squad. Then he had 2 pick sixes and had 5 interceptions. Should have made the Pro Bowl that year. And then they traded him to the Bills at the trade deadline. So he's been with a lot of teams. 7th year, so he's had a nice career. Got 17 career picks. You wish it would have worked out here. I was a little surprised when they cut him. They cut both Sidney and Rasul, I think, the same day.
Yeah, it was 2020, right?
It was before it was final cuts in 2020.
Yeah, the shame of it is he would have fit way better in the next defensive scheme that came in.
Yeah. So anyway, that secondary is loaded. I mean, they don't have Tre'Davious. What's his name?
Tre'Davious White.
Tre'Davious White's out, but there's still ball hawks out there.
It's a shame he's hurt again.
Yeah,
really like him as a player.
Really good player. So they pressure and they and they're ball hawks. So it's another really good defense. I think the Chiefs and Bills are like, third and fourth in the league in scoring defense.
Yeah. Have Leonard Floyd out there on the edge, has 9.5 sacks already this year. He's playing really well.
Yeah. So the top 5 in the league in points allowed are the Niners, who the Eagles play in a couple weeks, then the Ravens, and the Chiefs, who they just played, then the Bills, who they're playing now, and then Dallas, who they play in a couple weeks. So they'll have a stretch where they play a top 5 defense, 4 times in 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Although this defense isn't, I don't think it's quite as good as what you think from like the recent years of Buffalo defenses.
That's probably true. And kind of like the Chiefs, you can run on them. And that was one good thing I like to see about it. I know everyone's down on Brian Johnson, but I like the fact that, look, we know we can run against them, but we're going to stick with it, and we're going to keep feeding DeAndre. And there was some, he had some 2s and some 1s and some 3s, kept feeding him, and then he had a 35 and a 17. So I would think they would do that again.
Yeah, you definitely can run on this team. I think they're giving up 4.5 yards an attempt, 29th in the league. So, yeah, there's definitely some opportunity to run on them. When the Bills are on offense, I think it's going to come down to, can they get the football away from Josh Allen, who turns the football over a lot.
Yeah, he's got 12 picks. Other than that, he's been really good. I mean, he's like 70% completion. And
but we see what a few
22
key
touchdowns.
takeaways can do.
Yep.
We saw it against the Chiefs, and I think there's a good chance we see it on Sunday afternoon.
He doesn't take many sacks either.
No, he's tough to bring down.
Yeah. So, interesting game.
Yeah, they have some good weapons on offense.
They run the ball. I mean, Cook's really good.
Cook's good. Stephon Diggs is obviously a good player. Gabe Davis is a nice number 2.
Yeah. Yeah, they have Kincaid, who's solid.
Yeah.
So, not an easy game.
No, definitely not an easy game. None of these are easy games until the last 3 games of the year. But the Eagles have done what they needed to do. They're 2-0 to start this 6-game stretch. They've put themselves in a really nice position.
Yeah, and when we looked at this whole stretch, I thought if they got out of these first 2 1-1, they'd be okay. I think they'll beat the Bills. It's not an easy game. I think they'll win that one. Who's their next loss?
I don't know.
It might be in preseason next year.
I think it's unrealistic to expect them to win out.
Right.
But
each individual game
is very winnable.
Yeah.
And look, this is a team that lost to the Jets, so it's not like they couldn't lose on any game. But I mean, they're probably gonna the next game. The only game they might not be favored in is at Dallas.
Right.
I think they're obviously favorites this week. I think they'll be favorites next week at home against the 49ers. So obviously, we'll see what happens on Sunday. I think at Dallas, they're probably underdogs. I think at Seattle, they're probably still favorites. Probably road favorites there.
Yeah.
So we're talking about, 7 games left. Probably just one of them they'll be underdogs in.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Nick Serianni will still find a way to say that no one believes in them.
Yeah, I'm sure. Niners scare me a little. And I look at those 3 games they lost, Browns, Vikings, and Bengals, and I just I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, I know the Niners will be juiced up for that one. But I'll tell you what, that offense is so dynamic, but the Eagles have done pretty well against that brand of offense this year.
Yeah. They have so many weapons. Their linebackers are so good. I don't know. I'm going to pick the Eagles out until they lose. I'm not picking against them. I've learned my lesson.
I felt pretty good about picking the Chiefs. And I think I still do. based on the game, the way that game went. But
if I had to do it over again, I would have picked the Chiefs, and I picked the Eagles. I don't know what I was thinking.
They win the game, and you're like, what the heck was I thinking?
But you start thinking, they never lose in that building,
Yeah, which was what obviously makes that win so impressive.
The matchup.
It's about as hard as a game gets.
Yeah.
Andy Reid off the bye in KC against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Is there a harder game on an NFL schedule than that?
Not really.
Degree of difficulty through the roof.
Yeah. It was a really impressive win. Now you just got to crank it up and do it again 5.5 days later.
No sweat, right?
Do you know are you picking the Eagles?
I am. Yeah, I learned my lesson.
Yeah. You know, the one thing that really bothered me was the way the Chiefs were able to run. I did not see that happen. Now, they cleaned it up in the second half. What was he, 7 for 22?
Yeah, they were. I think they were 121 yards in the first half, 47 in the second.
Yeah. But I didn't see Pacheco against that front. I didn't think he'd be a factor. Yeah. That really surprised me.
Yeah, probably without Milton Williams this week. He suffered a concussion in that game, and with the short turnaround, it's
he was playing well in that game too.
He's been playing well all year.
Yeah,
he's a good player.
He is. He's solid.
Every few weeks we got to remind everyone. Yeah, Milton's still really good. I know everyone's watching Jalen Carter and the edge players, but Milton's playing really well.
Yeah, yeah. What else you got?
That's it.
Oh, okay.
You seem surprised, but also disappointed.
No, I'm always disappointed when a podcast ends.
Okay.
I'm not in a press box like in the Midwest waiting to go home. So
yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. I was ready for the post game pod to end.
Yeah, it was.
I made the most veteran move ever on for that game. I brought extra socks with me.
Really?
Yeah, and I was able to change my socks after being on the field pregame.
Oh, interesting. Where did you change?
In the press box.
You just changed your socks in the press box?
Yeah, I wasn't happy about the way I had to do it. I would have preferred like a quiet room away from people.
Yeah.
But I certainly wasn't going to do it in the bathroom.
Right.
So, yep.
Wet socks, that's the worst.
It's my least favorite thing. I always, in my mind, I'm like, maybe one day I'll hike the Appalachian Trail or like one of those long treks. I think the second my socks got wet, I'd be like, I'm going home. Hate wet socks.
I've been at this for 4 miles. Yeah. That's enough. Yeah. All right.
If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, you know what to do. Please rate and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, we'd love you guys too. Please click that like button, subscribe there. Can
I say one thing?
Well,
I just want to say how thankful I am for our listeners and viewers and subscribers. I read some of the comments online, which is always a dangerous thing because you never know what you're going to get. But man, they were really nice, and we really appreciate them, and we appreciate you guys for being a part of this.
Yeah, ditto. I'm appreciative too. Rube just beat me to the punch. All right, let's wrap it up. We'll talk to you guys post game on Sunday. This has been the Eagle Eye podcast presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.